electrify my body and you're making me feel like I'm so electric. Everything you do is making me blow, blow, blow. Don't know what to do about it, can't seem now to live without it. All I wanna do is just no, no, no. You suffocate my mind and now my atmosphere is crowded, and you being here is making me blow, blow, blow. You penetrate my space and now I'm looking out of place and you're making it hard.
Hey guys, it's Jake here from HookahRev.com, bringing you a video that you guys have all been waiting for, but on steroids. So adding our own little flair here to your video request. But this is a video on how to properly pack, load, and smoke Starbuzz tobacco. Now, the video title is of course just for Starbuzz, but this does work for other like brands such as Fumari, Social Smoke, Fantasia. So those are kind of like light tobaccos that have the same or similar characteristics and that will react similar to Starbuzz tobacco. But Starbuzz is arguably one of the biggest and most popular brands in the world now, actually. It's come a long ways. And a lot of people, believe it or not, still have some issues and problems with this particular tobacco and enjoying it properly. So this is why we're here. This is why HookahRev is here, to share our trials and errors with you. Not only am I going to cover for you the best bowl to smoke Starbuzz in, but I'm covering for you almost all the bowls for you to smoke Starbuzz in. So this is a little bit of a lengthy video, but it's totally worth it. It's basically a 4-in-1 video. So I'm going to go over in order from the best performing bowl, which I prefer for Starbuzz, is the Vortex bowl, followed by the Phunnel bowl, followed by the Egyptian bowl, and last but not least, the Alien bowl. So 4 bowls. Now, I will touch on it when you guys see it for the Alien bowl, but for the other 3, so for the Vortex, the Phunnel bowl, and the Egyptian, it's very straightforward as far as heat management goes. And now I'm prefacing this because you're not going to see it in the following, and then I'll touch a little bit more on it at the end of the tutorial clip segments. So let this fade out. We'll go right into how you're going to load Starbuzz in any of your chosen bowls. So for the Vortex bowl, it's pretty straightforward, but there's a lot of room for error in this. So with the Vortex bowl, we know that there's holes around the spire, and you definitely don't want to clog those. So for this one, you just take the tobacco, and you can just place it in here as I'm doing. It looks really messy, but it's not. So you can see how little tobacco that I actually used. Now, what you want to do is with a toothpick or whatever else that you use, you kind of want to just bring the Starbuzz away from the holes, like so. If it looks like that, where it's away from the middle of the spire and not touching the foil whatsoever, you'll be in good shape. You want it light and fluffed in the actual bowl, just so the airflow works properly in the Vortex. So that's really all it is for the Vortex packing. Let me throw some foil on here. 2 layers, regular duty foil, shiny side down. You just want to do a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just go all around. You don't want too many holes in the Vortex because of the little amount of tobacco that you're using. And the more holes or the smaller holes, you're going to get more heat going through, which could burn your bowl up a lot. So this is the hole pattern that you're going to want to use for your Vortex. Doesn't have to be super perfect, but this is basically the gist of it. This is the pattern that I always use. My next favorite is the Phunnel bowl. This is a Tangiers small. It looks gigantic in comparison, but it's actually not that much bigger. It's just a lot deeper, and the spire just looks a lot smaller. So for this, you also want to use the sprinkle technique. So you're breaking it up as you go. You're not just packing it in there. You're literally sprinkling it in by breaking it up. So it's very easy to waste tobacco in a funnel bowl, just because if you condense it in there as you would, like, let's say Tangiers, you're not going to get good results, and you're just going to end up wasting a lot of tobacco. So you can see there, I didn't use, I might have used about maybe 50% more of what I used in a Vortex bowl, but still not that much. So also what you want to do is you want to kind of tap it, like just, you don't want to pat it down, but you want to just tap it away from the foil a little bit. But a little bit of foil contact is okay, but this is what you're looking at as far as the level of Starbuzz in a funnel bowl. Also 2 layers, shiny side down, another 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern. You do want to go all the way down. And then you just kind of go around the sides. Couple holes in the middle, all the way around, and there's your whole pattern for a funnel bowl. If you're using a little bit more low heat coals, you can actually add a few more holes, or if you like it a little bit harsher, you want a bit stronger, add a few more holes in there if you want. But that's pretty much it. The Egyptian bowl gets a little bit tricky just because they're all a little bit different in size depending on where you get them, when you get them. But this is a pretty standard sized, small to medium sized head. You can see the depth of it. This is kind of what you want to look for when you're looking for an Egyptian bowl, with good holes obviously. So for this one, also the sprinkle method, basically for Starbuzz, you want to break up and air out any of the tobacco, as I mentioned in the previous bowls. But you're going to use that method in the Egyptian bowl. Now it's easy to mess up in these because, like I said, the depths are always a bit different, but if you stick with this guideline, don't put a lot of tobacco in here, so about the same as you would in the, as you saw in the Vortex, very little. This is what you want to use, air it out, and you want to keep this at least ½ an inch away from the foil. Just trust me on this one for the Egyptian bowl. If you pack too much in the Egyptian, it's going to burn very harsh very quickly. So, time for foil. Egyptian head is wrapped, 2 regular duty, shiny side down. You want to go 1 all the way down the middle, and if you can find the holes as you go, that's even better. Try to get as many of the holes. There's usually about 5 holes. You want to hit them as much as you can straight up. So for this one, that's the whole pattern that you want to use for an Egyptian. Just make sure they're evenly distributed, just not too many on here. And if you need to, you can go in the underside, and you can always get to the holes from the bottom just to kind of clear that up and make sure that nothing gets plugged in. Simple. And then finally, you have your alien funnel bowl. You can see very shallow for those that haven't seen it before. Also can get a bit tricky because depending on the bowl that you get, you could get a more shallow one or you could get an even deeper one. I got one that's more deep than it is actually shallow. So I've had one shallow one in the past. I didn't get very good results from it. But this one, because it is a little bit deeper, it works a lot better for me. So this one, a lot of people do have trouble with just because it's a little bit awkward and non-traditional. But what you want to do, it's actually a lot easier than you think. But this one, I would say you more place the tobacco in here. It's hard to fluff it up and break it up and keep it airy just because of how shallow the bowl is, even in the deeper ones. But also use a very little bit of tobacco. For Starbuzz, a little bit goes a long ways. Traditionally, same goes for the other like brands that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. But what you're doing is anytime you're handling tobacco, you don't want to be rough with it. So you can see I'm kind of just gently patting it down just to get it level. That's what it's going to look like from the top view, and that's what it's going to look like from the side view. So look, foil contact is inevitable. But you don't want it overpacked by any means for this type of tobacco. You just want it kind of flush and leveled through, and that's going to make the best smoking experience for you. Let's throw some foil on here. Alright, you guys know the drill by now. 2 layers, shiny side down. Also 1, 2, 3, 4 just to get started, and then go around the edge. Because you're not going to use as much heat in this, what I like to do is pop a lot more smaller holes and closer place holes in this around the bowl, and then just pop 1 or 2 in the middle. So that's what you're looking at for the alien. Because if you use coconars or hotter burning coal, you can actually just get away with putting 2 on here.
but then you're gonna have to put 2 on to actually get it going again. But this works for a lower heat coal that you can put 3 coals on, no problem. This is the only one I'm going to touch on for the heat management because this is a little bit different. But ultimately what you want to do is place 3, let's say you're using coconars, you're just going to put 1 coal on here, 1 coal on here, full surface on, let it die out, go on the other side, and that's pretty much it for this one. If you're using a lower heat coal like Starbuzz, which regulates its heat a little differently, you can actually put 3 coals on, but just make it tilt half off the edge, and that's what you want to do with this one.
So you saw, in actuality, it's all very simple. You see I did that very fast. Each bowl, I think, took me about 2 minutes tops to pack. Not difficult at all. Don't overthink it, but the thing with Starbuzz, what I want you guys to remember is that a little bit goes a long way. So you don't, just because it's not smoking right for you, you're not going to mash more tobacco in there. More is not necessarily better when it comes to this type of tobacco. So you can ultimately get away with using a lot less tobacco than you normally would. But these are the methods on how you're going to get Starbuzz to perform the best. The reason why I did this video a 4-in-1 is because a lot of you don't want to use the same type of bowl. Now I did it in order so you know which one you guys know which one I prefer the most over the other. But some of the different things that could go wrong, a lot of you guys report that you're not getting flavor or the flavor is dying out within the first like 10, 15, even 30 minutes, which should not happen. Use any of these techniques with the right charcoal. I prefer using coconut charcoal like Starbuzz or Coconara. You want to use the right materials to get the best experience. So if the biggest thing, the most important thing is your bowl and the coals. If you get those 2 right first, then you can go on to, getting the right hookah setup, getting a better hose. That's where you can upgrade. But get those 2 things down right, and just like me, I can, as long as I have the right bowl and the right coals, I can get any rig smoking well, and you guys will too, especially after watching this video. So yeah, with those things, a lot of times with those issues, it's improper heat management. You're either throwing too hot of coals on there, you're like too much heat, or you're just not using the right coals, so it's not generating the right heat, or you're getting taste from the coals. So like I said, coconut coals and the bowls that were used in this video, get those 2 things first and then go from there. So if you're using coconut coals, what you want to do is on any of the bowls, except for the Alien, which I'll explain a little bit more, you want to use 3 coconut coals. Basically on the rim, you don't want it too close to the center because that's just going to bring an immense amount of heat and it's going to make it get harsh very quickly. But you can kind of move it towards the center as the coals die down a little bit, or if it's a little bit harsher on you. Now, use these methods, you're going to get the full flavor. What I did for this, actually, I'm using Starbuzz coals on here. I'm smoking Starbuzz Apple Doppio. That's why you don't see a fancy hose, because this is my actual Apple hose. But I started off with 4 Starbuzz coals because they are a little bit lower in heat, so it manages my bowl pretty well. So it's a big bowl, it's a funnel bowl, 4 coals to start off with, and then what I'll do is I'll rotate it once after about 30 to 45 minutes after the coals are about halfway done. And then I'll actually relight 3, put 3 on, I'll be golden, and I'll have full flavor for about almost 3 hours. I don't usually like to smoke for that long, but when I do, I use the funnel bowl. So yeah, as far as the Alien goes, I mentioned it in the actual loading part, so that's the only thing that you have to keep in mind. Just be very careful with the heat on the Alien bowl. So in the best interest of not keeping this video to be a 20-minute video, I'm going to cut it off right here. Guys, this was Jake from Hookah. Visit the website, please, hookah.com. There's a lot of activity going on there, a lot more content, a lot more vendors contributing. And you know what vendors mean? Vendors mean discounts and giveaways. Well, at least that's what I think they mean. I think they actually want to, operate a business, but that's what it means to us. So be sure to check out the site, hookah.com. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to hookah.com YouTube if you haven't done so already. Tell all your friends, share it if they're having issues with smoking Starbuzz or any of the other like brands that I mentioned in the beginning of this video. I'll see you guys next time. This is Jake.